Album review. Today's album is the Beatles' Please Please Me. We're joined today by Joe,
Hello.
Will,
Hello.
Aidan,
Please.
and me, Denver.
Oh, nice. Please.
This album is obviously it's the oldest album we've done, and you can tell, like, it's such a different feel to every other album we've done. In my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, throw out that opinion card.
Just in the way, like, so every song clearly is very simple.
Yeah.
They have some clear backing loop that may change up a bit in some of the songs, but they keep that consistent. But it works to the way in which I can see why they were so popular back in those days, because all the songs, after I'd listened to the album a few times, the second one song came on, I could almost remember the whole song after hearing it straight away, because obviously the songs barely change throughout the whole thing, which does make them a lot more, if they're good songs, it makes them a lot more catchy. But because of the old style, it struggled for me to like get into it that much, because I'm like, I wouldn't ever listen to this along with my current stuff. Like, I can appreciate why it was why it did so well for them back in the day, like as a first album. But I think by today's standards, it doesn't really hold up. And what really doesn't help is the whole stereo effect that they didn't understand how to use back then. So
Revolutionary stereo technology.
So just by having lyrics in one ear and instruments in the other, just kind of gives me a headache.
You want to hear the Beatles a cappella? Just take your left earphone off.
Why
just
does
insane.
that give you a headache? Do you ever? Why are you wearing one headphone?
I'm not ever wearing one headphone, but I can distinctly tell that one is just coming from one side and one is coming from the other
Because
side.
I have to use the other headphone off to try and hear my parents coming up the stairs so I can stop masturbating, Will.
Well,
Why are you masturbating while doing your album review?
Because I really like John Lennon's voice. Is it John Lennon? Or is it Ringo? It's got to be Ringo, right? I'm pretty sure he just does everything.
I think most of the songs are quite a happy sound, but some of them are then just kind of boring. Yeah, so I go straight into it. Worst song, Misery. Even though it was actually the shortest song, I thought it was the only song on there. The second it started, I was like, oh fuck, it's this song. Like, and I really disliked hearing it. And as I say, with all the songs being kind of the same throughout the song, you could kind of listen to 30 seconds of each song and you kind of got the general loop of the whole song. Yeah. Even though that I did listen to the whole song. And the songs are short, which I think really I kind of like. It means that the fact that the songs are really simple not be as bad, because no song felt like it dragged on to me. Whereas, some songs you're like, oh, it made the album feel longer because the song kept like if you disliked a song on this album, the song never lasted very long anyway before it changed up to another song. So that contrast of that I like in some songs where the song like changes halfway through a song wasn't really needed in these songs because they were so short. Because whereas some songs you get in nowadays are like 4 minutes long, a lot of these songs are like 2.5 minutes. So even if you didn't like that song, it wasn't on the album very long.
That's what I mean. It's quite respectable, actually, that they made all their songs so short. Because there's like these terrible, terrible metal bands out there that are writing like 8-minute songs. And these guys, arguably one of the most influential bands in the world.
Yeah.
They're sat there with 2-minute songs. Good for them, Look, metal band.
Very simple, catchy songs. And there was probably I knew like 4 songs on this album prior to listening to it, and 3 of those were my favourites. There was 2 that I thought were kind of funky and good, which weren't in my top 3, and that was Boys and Do You Want to Know a Secret. I thought they were there was something about those songs that I quite liked listening to, whereas everything else was kind of a bit boring, too old, couldn't really get into it. And then this is my top 3, which
You fucking millennial.
Which I really love the top 3 songs and could listen to them again, but then it's a very different style to anything else I listen to. But the fact that they're so short, that it makes it easy to add to an existing playlist because it's never on that long. despite the fact one of my favourites was the longest one. But anyway, third favourite was Love Me Do. It's like, I'm guessing that was almost like the single of this album, because if you actually look on the album cover, it says like featuring Love Me Do and 12 other songs. It doesn't even say like, you know, like the Bon Jovi one that was like classic grooves or whatever. This one's just 12 other songs. Like, they're really selling
there are other songs on there. Love Me Do's there, and 12 others.
But I feel like this had the advantage of, and which we've spoken about before with older albums, of they kind of just had to make a lot of albums had to just make a few good songs and it would sell the album.
You know what's quite funny is that the album cover itself, like, it looks like the kind of picture that everyone took in secondary school, like the lads, when they were leaning over the railing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that wasn't even intended to be the album cover. They just had it on a Polaroid somewhere, because they had Polaroids.
Well, maybe, obviously this being so old, maybe that set the classic image of me with the lads image.
Do you reckon this is it? This is the start of, like, the boys?
Yeah, exactly.
Beatles were the original boys.
They have a song called Boys.
And they cracked open a cold one?
Oh,
fuck.
We're finding the OGs.
Do you reckon they ever did a song called Saturday? Because Saturday is for the lads.
Lads.
Not us, though.
No, not us.
Second favourite, Twist and Shout. Just a great, groovy song, which I knew before. Love that song.
And you know what's funny is people call farting twisting and shouting.
Oh. When do you twist before you fart?
I do. I spin like 180 and snap my spine.
Do they really call it that?
Tim does at my work.
I've never heard that in my life. Oh, I've just twisted and shouted. Oh.
No, well, he doesn't sound like that. he's from London. He's Cockney Hardman.
Oh, I've just twisted and shouted.
Oh, shit. You know, since you told me about the Spotify plays thing, it's kind of I didn't look at that, but now I look at that. Like, Twist and Shout is by far the most listened to song on this album.
That's what I mean. I think it's one of them things where this album was, like, people listened to it and they were like, you know what, this sounds like farting.
Farting? I don't get that.
Twisting and shouting is called, or people call it.
Classic Denver hasn't listened to the last 2 minutes of the conversation.
No, I didn't really understand what you were on about for the last 2 minutes of the conversation, if I'm honest. You just started talking about farting for some reason.
Apparently, twist and shout is another way of saying farting.
Is it?
Yeah,
apparently. That's what Aidan says. I've never heard that.
I've never heard that.
I think it's maybe more of a southern thing.
Yeah, fucking twist and shouted.
Twist and shouted.
I mean, it is. Yeah.
What, do you think I was lying?
Also,
yeah, you're lying, bro. Why are you lying about?
Also, do the twist is also another word for it.
That's another song, though, isn't it?
And yeah,
is it also by the Beatles?
I don't think
twisting the night away.
Huh.
There you go. Look at that.
This is in a book.
It's a song by Sam Cooke.
This is in a book called The Fart Book: The Disgusting Adventures of Milo's Snot Rocket.
Right, lovely. So what we've established here is that Denver got angry at me for bringing up farting, when in actual fact, hard evidence.
Well, yeah, I've been shut down. I just thought that was such a weird curveball. Like, why are you talking about farting in my review now?
Because it's shit.
Anyway, and then favourite song was I Saw Her Standing There. That was the best song on the album. Which, this is like, I think, the first time this happened. You know how we've spoken in previous albums, are like strong starts, and then it, like, songs like fade, and then or like the beginning of the album is by far the best, whatever.
Yeah.
This literally, in what I would class as my favourite songs, is almost like perfectly spaced out throughout the album. So like I really like the first song, the last song, and Love Me Do, which is in the middle. And then my other songs that I kind of like were Boys, which was number 5, so that's between like the first song and Love Me Do. And then Do You Want to Know a Seeker, which is like slap bang in the middle between Love Me Do and Twist and Shout. So like,
there's always something to look forward to.
Yeah, so when I was listening to the album, there would always be a song I liked, a couple of meh or bad ones, then a song I liked, a couple of meh or bad ones, a song I liked. It wasn't like, oh, every good song is in the first half of the album and then it's just shit. It was well ordered in goodness of the songs.
Yeah. It was well ordered in goodness. Get that shit on a t-shirt. That's a quote.
Exactly. And that's pretty much it. That's my review of the album.
Pick me. Is it me next?
It's Aidan.
All right. So I understand that this album was supposed to essentially be the start of a legacy, yeah? Legendary band. But I feel I have little to contribute to it. I don't hate it, but it also doesn't butter my crumpet, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Because basically all of my top 3 are pretty much based on how much I actually like the main vocal hook.
Okay.
Because the majority of the instrumental pieces could be swapped around. They're that similar.
I agree.
Right? You get me? They've all got the same tone. A lot of them are even probably in the same sort of like
Key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just, and you know, hats off to them. If it works, it works. We always slate when bands do songs that are too similar to each other, but I'm pretty sure that was the Beatles' whole shtick.
Yeah.
Right. The worst song, in my opinion, was "Love Me Do." Right, and that's just because the song itself just really grates on me. Like the chorus, like is really. I'm not a big fan of the ear rape harmonica, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, I love the ear rape harmonica.
You're just
really
like,
monotone.
it starts and you're just like, oh, okay, this is another. And you're like, fuck it out.
We're back.
I feel like, though, that's definitely from hearing the song too much, because I imagine you knew the song before listening to the album.
Maybe. I feel like I did, but like, and then also the guy that's trying to harmonize in the background can never remember who's the harmony one.
Paul.
Paul's harmonies in "Love Me Do" are fucking awful. They're so bad. They're so bad.
I'm pretty sure Paul's the second singer and John Lennon's the main
he's the
singer,
main
right?
guy, and Ringo's actually
the other way around.
Ringo's a backup singer. Don't know
Ringo sings in one of them, doesn't he?
Ringo does sing.
No,
Oh,
was the other one? Was it like George
Oh, was Ringo even in it then?
John
something?
Potato.
Because Ringo wasn't the original drummer, was he?
Was he not?
No.
This is all spurious facts. Oh,
I think he is.
No, they had a different drummer.
And then Ringo was like, "Please, can I be in song?"
Who was the third member? Is it like George?
George Harrison.
George something.
Ah, yes,
Yeah,
George
that's
Michael.
I could say George Sampson and the fucking dancer off Britain's Got Talent.
What a fucking...
Jimmy Nicole was the
Are the Beatles
first
still
drummer.
alive?
Are the Beatles still alive?
Or Tommy Moore.
Well, I think a couple of them are.
Paul
John
and
Lennon's
Ringo
still
are.
alive, isn't he?
Paul and Ringo are. Okay, there you go.
John Lennon got shot, Joe. It was massive.
Oh.
I know.
He
What,
got
the
that.
bullet? I don't think bullets are that big, to be
He
honest.
got
Will.
shot in New York.
To the heart, and
Will-
you're to blame.
Well, there isn't a part in your body called the New York.
Why did he get shot?
Because he was a hippie.
Because America. Because America.
That sounds about right, to be fair.
That's racist.
He could have just been stood anywhere on the street. You're on my property!
I think there was something about it being like assassinated. Like it wasn't just a normal.
Oh, it's a
Oh no, he
cover
was
up.
targeted.
It was a cover up.
Do you know what's crazy about the Beatles? Just looking at their like history of albums. Obviously, they only actually ran for like 7 years, but they made like 2 albums a year.
Yeah. Well, they probably didn't have much else to do back then, to be fair.
Just
Also, like, do you know
drugs.
about all these fucking? There's so many conspiracies and shit about the Beatles. Where they're like, if you listen to the song backwards at 3 minutes 2, you can hear him say "kill me," and it's just like the song's going backwards, and it's like,
Yeah, sure.
and they're like, look, listen closer. There it is.
Let's slow
He
it down
said,
at
"Kill me."
67% speed. It's like,
They're like,
He actually
hear it.
Holy shit. So I'm reading up on this, right? He got killed by a fan. He was an American Beatles fan, and he travelled from Hawaii to kill him. And they actually shot him with hollow point bullets, which I don't know if you know what they are, but they're bullets that
They are
basically when you shot with one, the bullet expands inside of you.
Yeah, they're banned by the Geneva Convention, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what he got shot with 5 times from a special revolver.
What makes it special? And also, he missed a bullet then.
And the guy remained at the scene until he was arrested. So, like, he was like,
He
it
knew
wants
he
to be
was.
known.
yeah.
Although we don't actually know his name.
So
What's his name?
Well, no.
Yeah, he didn't. He went down in history.
He was called
not
Mark
to be.
David Chapman. That's what he was called.
Do you ever look at like, not fucking Elton John, fuck's sake, John Lennon? Like you look at him in the early Beatles days, and like he looks like the rest of the Beatles. And towards the end, he looks like an old man. Like he's one of those people who looked old before he was old.
I mean, have you seen Ringo now? He kind of looks like a testicle. But a well-groomed one at that.
Paul McCartney did well for himself, didn't he? Considering, like, I wouldn't say he's like got the best natural voice in the world, but he just after the Beatles, he still did like killer songs afterwards.
Yeah, and I think Kanye put him back on the map.
He did.
That's a joke for anyone that cares. It's a joke.
Did you also know a bit of Beatles trivia that Michael Jackson used to own all the rights to the Beatles music?
Oh yeah, really?
That's why it was never on any streaming services for a long time.
Do you want to
Michael
hear
Jackson
more?
refused to put it on any of them.
Do you want to hear some more Beatles trivia?
Go for it.
A dung beetle can carry 2 times its own weight in feces.
Bro, that is actually insane.
Isn't
What
it?
a lad.
Isn't it
What
just?
gym lad.
But then
Gotta love a bit of Beatles trivia.
after Michael Jackson died, Paul McCartney bought it back.
Yeah, Paul.
So Paul McCartney has all the rights to the Beatles stuff now.
Did I say my third favourite?
You did not.
My third favourite was I Saw Her Standing There. And my notes for it were, was I high when I? It sounds like old Lennon really went for it on this song. It's a good energy to it.
What the fuck? Old Lennon went for it. That's what my dad would
Gave
say.
it big licks.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Number 2, controversial, was Misery.
Oh no.
That is controversial.
And the reason being is I thought it had a nice harmony specifically on the word misery, and that was good enough for me to put it there.
You got my vote.
This is what I mean. Like, I don't have much to say about it, but one thing I do want to bring up is, have you guys seen any of Ringo's art?
No.
No.
Because upon researching this, you might have to cut this because it might make a blinky noise. I've found some of Ringo's
Oh
art.
my god.
No, here we go. I'm uploading them as we speak. You can cut all that if it makes a noise. I found Ringo's art.
It says what? $50?
What?
Yeah, baby.
Did he do it in MS Paint?
So, yeah, MS Paint art. The reason he did this is because he was so bored on tour, he was making these when he used to do it.
He obviously
not
likes
good.
the theme of the 2 colours.
He loves it. So this is Ringo art. It actually exists and you can buy these.
Yeah, baby.
You're a baby.
Yum.
I'm hoping that you can put these up on screen, Never, but like, holy fucking shit, are they amazing?
Yeah. Oh my god, they just don't. What's that? Why has it got like a checkered background?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, it symbolises a bit like the stereo effect in this album of just 2 completely different parts on
On the
either
drum.
ear.
Yeah, baby.
It does symbolise that very well.
There are a lot more, but those were 3 of my favourites.
Is
I
that-
especially like the picture
is
with
that-
Ringo sticking his nose over
Yeah,
the image.
what's doing the Chad is on the Snoop thing.
Is
Yeah.
that supposed to be a Beatles member?
I don't know. I've no idea.
Well, obviously, the one in the middle there is John Lennon after he's been shot.
Oh, Jesus, you're a baby.
And that's not meant to
Hey,
say,
bro, nice shot.
and the top one's not meant to say what, it's meant to say thought, and it's John Lennon's mother.
Oh, classic.
Classic John Lennon's mother.
Okay.
Oh god.
They're amazing. But, yeah, holy shit. And number 1, this one might be a bit weird. I put P.S. I Love You as my favourite.
Really?
And let me just set the record straight. Fucking the worst intro to a song on the album. Right? The first, 20 seconds, awful. But other than that, I really vibe with it. Like, it's sad. It's really sad. And it's one of the only ones that actually stuck out to me on the first listen. There's a lot of, minor chords and stuff in it, and it really, I don't know, I just like it. I like specifically the chorus to that. But yeah, overall, my album review's been a short one because I don't want to destroy what is basically set the standard for all of modern music and is widely regarded as the greatest band to have ever lived.
Yeah, like the most influential band. Like, even if you Google like on Wikipedia, like the opening line is like the Beatles, widely regarded as like the most influential band of all time. Establishing pop music, really, wasn't it? Like,
yeah, they
simple,
did.
Catchy.
They set the standard for like pretty much everything to come. Because before that, I imagine they were all just sat out in the bayou, not the Beatles, but people were sat out in the bayou twanging sticks together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they were like, we should make music out of this. And they said, nah. But the Beatles, they really refined music. Good for you, Beatles. You're still shit, though.
I feel like the Beatles did for pop what Nirvana did for rock.
Oh, kill themselves.
I thought he did grunge music. I thought that was his thing.
No, I'm pretty sure it was just awful.
Grunge, but like a lot of like metal and everything kind of came from Nirvana.
Yeah, I don't know if it did well. I feel like you're making curious claims here, Will.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, like... Oh, in fairness, actually, it could have inspired metal, because they heard his voice and were like, what is this awful sound? We should replicate it.
That's Nirvana.
Yeah, that's what we were on about.
Oh.
What are you on with, Joe?
Are you still thinking Beatles is the most influential metal band or something?
Yeah, I was like, I thought we were still talking about the Beatles influencing metal.
Oh my god.
Great. Yeah, that's my review.
Cool.
Thank you, Aidan.
Is it me?
Well, it is you.
It's me. So, I've never really listened to the Beatles before, so I was actually quite excited for this. The reason being I've never listened to them before is because growing up, like I said, I based a lot of what I first listened to because of my dad, and my dad hates the Beatles for some reason. Like he has a strong hatred towards them, probably because all of his stuff was like AC/DC and Guns N' Roses that he liked, whereas I guess this was more of like the pop scene. So he just seemed to resent them for some reason. So I never really listened to him, but I actually really enjoyed the album. I think just every song's kind of like none of them are unhappy. They're like quite upbeat. There's maybe like a couple that are. I agree with everything you kind of said in that it's all kind of very samey, but because it's like so short and the voices and like the harmonies just make the music work. I don't know if like their following albums are like this, because obviously I don't know if this was this their first ever album.
This was the first.
Because it is on Spotify. Yeah. It's just really simple, and like I say, like I don't think they really ever change key, but it just works. I think all of it's quite catchy. And I also think John Lennon's voice is really good. And I think like those two lead singers, like their voices just work really well together and bring each other's voices out, kind of thing. And I think some of these songs would be like really good for like a kind of old school wedding. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It seems like that's like the dancey stuff. Maybe not for like our era, but you can see why people love the Beatles so much. The worst for me was Baby It's You. I just think the whole thing's really monotone and boring, and I didn't like that one at all. And to be fair, P.S. I Love You was pretty similar to that, and Love Me Do, but Love Me Do was the closest to being my worst because I just hate that fucking harmonica that just
the earache harmonica. Why is it so loud?
Yeah. While he's just singing so monotone. The best Beatles songs are like proper upbeat and like they just work better than like the monotone. I don't think they work well with monotone songs.
Definitely agree with that.
What is confirmed though is Will does hate babies.
Yeah, that's true.
I do.
Because Baby It's You was your worst this week. Wasteland Baby was your worst last week. Will
I just hate
is
babies,
a baby
man.
hater.
Oh my god, you Nazi.
But wait, Will, what's your
don't switch this around on me?
But what's your favourite Ringo image, and why is it the YER Baby one?
Yeah, baby.
No, it's actually my least favourite because it.
Oh no, because it says baby on it.
Yeah.
No.
top three. Third was Anna, Go to Him. And it's weird because the verses are quite, and the start's really slow. Because I actually thought it was going to be Some of Your Worst, but I think he shows his like best vocals in that song. Like, I don't know, the structure's weird to that song as well because it doesn't seem to be just like verse, chorus, verse, chorus. It's like really weirdly put together, but I really like that one. And then my top two, second, and this is the only song I knew from this album, was Twist and Shout. Fucking awesome song. And was very close to being number one. But I think because I knew it so well, it maybe might have like lowered it slightly. But number one, and what a fantastic start to the album was, I Saw Her Standing There. I think that was the most catchy, and just really upbeat and happy, and just a great start to the album. It had a great start and a great end, even though Twist and Shout is a weird song to end on. I think like Denver says, it's very well put together in that there's like good songs throughout. Like there's always something to kind of look forward to, even on like the weaker songs. You just know that there's something else coming, which I think is quite good. Like it's always shit when you listen to an album and the first half's good and then it just goes downhill. Whereas this kind of stays pretty consistent throughout with a couple of weak ones, which is good. But for a first listen to the Beatles, I was quite pleasantly surprised, and I understand why people liked them and why they were so big. Yeah.
Well, have you seen the Beatles live?
Yeah, I've seen them live.
To be fair, I saw a tribute band of them when I was like 8.
The Cockroaches.
They were called the Bootleg Beatles.
Oh, nice.
And I remember my parents went to see them, and they were like, they sound exactly like the Beatles, as if my parents went to see the Beatles. I think, I mean, that's the thing. It's like we talk about like them being for like our parents' generation, but even then, they're more like our parents' parents' generation.
Yeah, because my dad had like just been born.
Yeah, like
my dad was born 1964, the year after this album came out.
Yeah, so my dad, at the age of
favorite band was the Beatles.
Like the Beatles stopped being a thing when my dad was like 6. Like, so it's not like he was grooving to it through his teens.
Exactly.
Joe.
Hello. So, weirdly, I've done some research.
Here we go.
I've done some research.
And it turns out Beatles are crap. So,
so if you look at the top of the album, it actually says stereo on the top of the album, right?
Yeah.
That is because every album that the Beatles did, more or less, they did a mono version and a stereo version. And back then, people preferred the stereo version. But now people prefer the mono version because how weird it sounds. But because it was such like a new thing back in that day, everyone like listened to the stereo version. And
sorry, stop, Joe. Somebody's mouse clicking a lot.
That's me.
Oh, okay. Right, I can just hear this clicking going on.
All right, guys. So I feel like maybe
I'm looking at this web page that we found.
Right.
Why are you clicking so much on that web page?
The web page? Where?
I've got a habit of like highlighting stuff and then just clicking off it and highlighting it. Anyway, so I don't know if it relates to this album.
No, Will.
Click.
Oh, they forget.
So I don't know if it relates to this album as such, but there's actually sources that say the stereo versions of some of the songs and some of the albums are actually like longer than the mono version. For example, I know this isn't a song that on this album, but the stereo version of Helter Skelter is almost a minute longer because it includes a guitar solo. It's like not on the mono.
Like in one ear, a guitar solo in one ear.
I assume so, yeah. I thought that was quite interesting. So I remember learning about this when I went to music college and stuff. And, you know, it says the Beatles actually preferred mono themselves, but people would rather listen in stereo. I prefer this is someone. I prefer the mono versions. I own versions, but it's all up to your own personal taste. So if you go on YouTube, there's mono and stereo versions there. So
do you think it was like back in the day? It was like everyone said they preferred it because it was new and therefore better, and then after a while they're actually like, yeah, you know what, it's not better.
Yeah, it's kind of like 3D movies when they were sat there like, yeah, of course I love watching this movie with a weird blue and red haze around everything. It's the best.
So I remember when I went to music college, there was actually saying when you like mix a song or like make a song, you have to obviously use the stereo mix. So you pan stuff left and right. So that's why you always do guitars twice, so you can spread them across the whole thing rather than just having it in the middle. But then they always say when you listen to it, you need to make sure it's okay in mono as well. So once you've done it all, then you have to listen to it in mono because a lot of speakers that people use are only in mono. So you have to.
Oh, so you don't want just several instruments just to be dropped out.
Yeah, exactly. So it's fine mixing in stereo, but then you have to listen to it again and again in mono so that you can still hear everything, type of thing. And obviously that was a massive pain in the ass for these guys back in the day. So there's a little bit of trivia.
Also, if you notice how they're all remastered, I'd like to know what was remastered about them. Because it's clearly not. I don't think it's been done with new instruments today because it still sounds old.
It's probably been like remixed and stuff.
Probably just cleaned it up a bit so it's not so grainy.
Yeah, I bet there was a lot of what you used to have. I'm pulling out all this knowledge today, which is
look, Joe, you wasted your time going to music college. Don't waste our time telling us.
No. I'm interested.
I'm joking.
When they used to record back in the day, they used tape to record. They didn't use computers. Or they used computers, but they recorded. So it would go into a microphone, and then they'd have a roll of tape. So instead of sound being digital, it would be like taking a picture on an old camera, and the sound would then be on that tape, and you'd have to play it back on the tape, and then it goes into the computer that way. Really weird. But what that would create, it would create what they call tape noise, which is like
grainy
static. Like a grainy static noise, like white noise almost. That's absent in these recordings, and they would have had that. Right. So I'm assuming all this remaster stuff is clearing stuff like that out, like unwanted noise.
Right.
I have a question, Joe.
Go for it.
So you seem to know a lot about music and obviously everything. Then why do you like metal?
Oh, nice.
Oh, that was a road.
I was going to hit him with a curveball. So you clearly know a lot about music, but do you know a lot about maths?
I thought you were going to go along a really mean route. It's like, you seem to know a lot about music, so why can't you make any decent music? I thought that's what you were going to say.
I'm not that. I can't do that because I'm on some of the songs. I'd be citing myself.
I've taken several hits there. I'm wounded. I'm going to move on.
I'm not saying that, Joe. I'm surprised they didn't say that. Because I thought
that's taken half the hits that
Lennon has. I thought it'd be too harsh.
Really good. No, when I bring out an album, we'll review my album and then
will we?
No, because it'll be like, when we say when album review, obviously the peak of album review is to eventually do the review and then speak to the artist afterwards after we've slated them.
That'll be me.
But yeah, we would be doing that to Joe, and it's like, would it change what we would say because the artist is there?
Yes.
That'll be interesting. We'll have to see. So, on to my actual review of the album. I thought, this was all right. I have a few comments about it, and that's, for me, the album got progressively worse until the very end. So I was like, first quarter of the album pretty good, and then it was like, oh shit, and then really good at the end. And by the end, I mean like the very last song.
We got the
yeah. So my least favorite was A Taste of Honey, because I just thought that was really boring. I didn't think the melody was very nice at all. And that was why that was my least favorite. I also thought the shortness of the songs helped. Like, I don't think having these as fully pledged 3.5 minute, 4 minute songs, I think that would have worsened the album. Because like Aidan said, they are basically just the same backing loop type of thing again and again and again. And so I think that helped. Also, I wanted to comment about the song I Saw Her Standing There. And this is a bit of a gripe that I have, not with the Beatles in particular, but kind of this era of music in particular. I don't know if you guys remember Standing Here, but it was a pretty bluesy backing track, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little bit of music knowledge, but I'm not going to go into it. So the blues kind of follows one, they call it like the 12-bar.
Blues scale thing.
Yeah, it's like the
I like
12-bar.
blues music.
And what it is literally 3 chords or 4 chords or whatever that just loop around each other.
Yeah.
And that song pretty much follows that progression all the way through. And here's the thing. This is my gripe, is I'm a bit sick of hearing that. Because you listen to like a majority of old songs, like Elvis, anything like that, you will hear that same chord progression again and again and again. And it kind of just gets a bit samey.
Well, yeah, that's very much true, but I wasn't obnoxious enough to point it out, Joe Midwood.
I mean, that's just Glenn, you know,
Protect the NHS.
Sorry, someone's
Get out the pans! Get out the pans!
Ding, 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 ding.
Me and Aidan described, well, Aidan mainly described Boris Johnson talking as
I forgot
someone trying to like spoon feed you like some stuff, and you're trying to avoid it.
It's just like, come on, Boris, just take your breakfast. He's like, no, take the NHS.
Just trying to stick their finger in your mouth.
Save lives. Sorry, Joe.
My third favourite was "Baby It's You." It's one of the songs I knew. I think that's the thing. My favourite songs were really songs that I did already know, because I think it just brought back a bit of nostalgia. Even though I wasn't even really into the Beatles that much, you hear those songs and it still makes you think, cool. And you get this nice little feeling called nostalgia. But I mainly remember the sha-la-la-la bits.
Yeah. What I find really interesting is this is one of the few albums we've had where almost any time one of you guys have said the title, I can immediately remember the song.
That's cool. That is cool that you know that.
I can't.
See, it's different from because they're all quite similar in terms of like, not all of them, but you know, most of them are quite similar. Like I wouldn't be able to tell you which is which unless, you know, they were my favorites type of thing.
Yeah.
So my second favorite was Anna Go Get 'Em. This one stuck out to me on my first listen of the album. This actually stuck out the most because I think it had a very unique, you know, it kind of went minor and then went back up. It was weird. It was like, it had quite a unique groove to it, I think, compared to the rest of the songs on the album. But again, it is just the vocals that annoy you because they're in the right-hand side. It's annoying. But again, yeah, I kind of liked it. I thought the backing was quite good in that song as well. So there's that. And then my first favourite was Twist and Shout.
Hey.
Because it was the most like feel-good one almost. It's the one that kind of gets you like, oh yeah, I know this. Oh yeah, you can just imagine it, you know, in a party or in a movie.
You don't have to imagine it, Joe. It's right there.
God, you're right.
Wow.
It's right there for me.
The wonders of technology.
I just thought it sounded the most iconic as well, out of all of them. Like, I feel like for me, I know it's not, but I feel for me that would be like the single on the album. You know,
it was Love Me Do.
But yeah,
and 12 other songs.
And 12 other songs. Just some songs. Don't need to worry about what they are. There are just other songs on.
In fairness, buying a record back then was probably about 10 pence. They're like, whoa, 10 pence, that's expensive.
But just as for inflation, that's at least £100 now.
Yeah, pretty much.
At least. Well, I think that's the thing though. Back in the day, like you used to be able to get money from this stuff really easily.
Yeah. They're just like, how much is your house? Oh, it's worth £30 and 12 shillings.
But like now, it's really hard for artists to get money and stuff. So,
but it's easier for artists to get their music out there than ever, though.
Yeah, to get recognized. Yeah. Also, you don't have to be good anymore.
You
had to be a good singer, but like now you don't.
Yeah, then you have to be a good singer. Whereas now you have to be a good producer can make music now. Whereas a good producer couldn't really make music before.
Yeah,
exactly. Like anyone could get into music now. Just look at Post Malone.
For fuck's sake.
But
not
anyway,
gonna
yeah,
buy it.
not much really to say about the album because I think you guys pretty much hit the nail on the head with it all. I thought it was all right. So there you go.
Well, thanks, Joe.
That's all right.
Yeah, because a lot of my comments on every song were kind of like one-word comments because it's like there's not a lot to the songs to say about the songs.
Also a little bit of weird knowledge
Oh,
Here
God.
we go again.
is I think that this was remastered by Apple. I could be wrong, but
Do you know this, or is this just spurious?
I'm
Because
just
it says Apple Corp at the
there's
bottom.
Apple Courts Limited at the bottom, 2015,
That's I'm pretty sure because they partly own it.
and it says produced by Stone Productions Limited.
Well, it sounds like it
Division
might have been
so-
by
So
them.
it's produced by them, but it's copyrighted by Apple. So
Yeah.
there you go. I just thought it was cool.
Yes,
There you
because I'm not sure if you remember, but back in 2015 was when
I wasn't born then, sorry.
this was before Apple Music. What, sorry, Joe?
Yeah.
Joe's
I wasn't born.
He's 5 years old.
All right. In 2015, Apple managed to get the Beatles on iTunes because prior to that, you could only buy you couldn't buy a digital version of Beatles songs.
All right. Okay.
You could only buy physical discs.
Cool.
One thing that's crazy is the fact that, do you know, like when they put a lot of old bands onto Spotify, they never really get the listens that they used to. So they're like, say, an old band that released music just like before Spotify was a thing. They get put on Spotify, but they never get that many listens because people are over them. But like,
Oh, yeah.
Beatles still now get 23 million listeners, like monthly listeners, which is more than 975, a lot more than 975.
I like how that's
And-
always our benchmark for if someone's good. It's like, is
Yeah.
it more than 975?
But that's crazy. Like, still after all this time, they listen to constantly. Like, it's ridiculous. They haven't been together for so many years, and like you said, they were only like big, really, like for those 7-8 years that they were making stuff. And now they're still getting 23 million monthly listeners, and like all their songs, like their popular 10 songs, have got over 100 million listeners.
Having said that, though, you know who also is old and has more listeners than 975?
Who?
Hall & Oates.
You make my dreams come true. Brilliant.
God.
It's rare as well. Me and Denver got the top 2. Like, we never pick the same songs.
It must be slander. It's not canon.
It's not canon.
Not canon. Right. You all want to do some ratings?
Yeah, ratings time. 6.
4.
7.
5.5.
Hooray.
And Debbie, you can't claim that I've fucked you this time.
No,
Really
you
get
haven't.
it below it.
You've given a fair rating this time.
Yeah.
It scores 22.5.
Fair enough. That's below average.
It is, but like,
It was a below average, like compared to what we actually listened to.
because like realistically, how many of those songs on that album would you then add to existing playlists and
None.
put in rotation? Like you can appreciate them for what they are and appreciate what they did for music, but like into nowadays, you can't rate it like, oh, it's a 9 because of what it did for music. I mean, like to nowadays standard, it's
I'll add
not history.
I'll add it to my work playlist, so when the olders come into my shop, they'll be like, "Oh, Beatles."
Is this Beatles? I own a Ringo painting that says "Your Baby" on it.
To be fair though, I probably would add like I Saw Her Standing There and Twisting Shout there because they were like upbeat. They would kind of fit in with my general theme of like my go-to like playlists.
I'd put them in.
Yeah, all right, Will.
I like the switch up.
Yeah, okay, Will.
All right, well.
Whoa. Let's switch up the language.
Let's not do that.
Oh, fucking.
Despacito.
No, it's not Despacito. It's fucking
It's every day, bro.
every day, bro. Yeah.
Yo, can we switch up the language? No, we can't. Fuck off. I want to say that when I go to McDonald's or something.
just like roll up to the window. So what would you like? Whoa, whoa, whoa! Can we switch up the language?
That'd be brilliant.
Right.
We're ready for the next album, boys.
Ready for the next album, Joe.
Why is it your pick?
It's my pick.
Yeah, I'm not ready for the next album.
No, you have the right to feel like that, really. So this band,
It's immediately not who I was thinking was going to pick.
is a small band.
A small.
They have 91,000 listeners.
Oh, as in they're small.
Really
like
small.
But I
thought you were going to pick like a midget band or something like that.
They are all just tiny.
They're all just
They're called, like,
dwarfs.
the Little People.
There is a band called like Diddly Do or something like that, and they are just Ned Flanders, and they're a metal band as well. They're all dressed like Ned Flanders.
Oh yeah, there is actually. That's really true.
Yeah.
They're called like Idly Hose or some shit like that.
Yeah, something like that. They actually have like proper.
That would be like, they should make a rival band called Dope, and it's just all Homer Simpsons.
But it's dubstep for some reason.
And it's like really well put together music. It's just a meme.
What a meme.
Anyway, this band, small, metal.
Another metal one.
However,
2 back-to-back metal.
The reason that I'm picking this is because it's not that metal.
Oh, okay.
And I've talked about this band before. These guys bridge the gap between
Bridge the Gap band.
Indie kind of pop music and metal and blend it very well together. And I think you guys might enjoy this one, minus the screaming. The band is called Alaska, which is spelled Alazka.
I mean, that immediately has made me think. I can't spell the word Alaska.
And the album is called Phoenix.
Cool album, Matt.
Cool album, that indeed.
Looks like some out of fucking COD Zombies or something.
So, yeah. I think you might, and even if you don't like this album in particular, it's definitely worth listening to the Empty Throne song, but acoustic, which is actually one of their most popular songs on the album. Of all time. It's really, really good. That even I've showed Aidan that, and he liked it. So there you go.
Okay.
Thanks.
There you go. Well, that doesn't look like Alaska to me. That looks like Kill Me, the Pretty Reckless.
Oh, that's because it's symbolising kill me.
It actually was.
Yeah, it
I
was.
put a song when Joe went, it's a metal album. I put a song on Spotify that me and Will can both see that said, for fuck's sake.
And I put one back to him, kill me.
Wow.
We're communicating via Spotify.
And I can see it in a 20-second delay.
Fuck's sake.
Oh,
So, there you go, guys.
So, any parting words, Joe?
Slayer!